Manipulation. Plausibility. We manipulate you because we have to, either instinctively or by calculation. Lesser or mid-range narcissists do so through instinct, greater and the ultra do so through calculated behavior. Our manipulations occur in order to assert control over you, to draw fuel from you, to gain character traits and residual benefits. And one of our manipulations revolves around the issue of plausibility, the ability to do or say something that rings true. Take, for instance, when we commence our seduction of you, and we tell you that we have been in love with you for several years, but never felt able to tell you this until now. What happens when something like that is said by the narcissist towards the victim? 1. You are taken aback that someone tells you this out of the blue. 2. It feels good to be told that somebody loves you. It accords with the love devotee trait that you have as your empathic makeup. And also, it appeals to a person's desire to be loved. And yours desire to be loved is specifically acute. Moreover, your emotional thinking recognizes that here comes a narcissist, and therefore it increases. And as it increases, it hijacks and corrupts this love devotee trait to make you feel good about what has been said to you. So rather than you ignore it, rather than you rebuff it or reject it, you embrace it. Causes you to embrace it, even though on the face of it, it is a rather illogical suggestion. Instead, a combination of our plausibility and your susceptibility, because of your emotional thinking, causes this something that has a ring of truth about it to seem even more likely than it actually is. Thirdly, the concept of somebody loving you silently and afar for many years also accords with the romantic ideals that are often imbued in an empath and are kept entrenched there by emotional thinking. 4, it's a surprise, but a pleasant one, an exciting one which has grabbed your interest. Some people may be bowled over already because of these things. Their desire to be loved and probably their need to be loved arising out of the damage that they have suffered at some point causes them, driven by emotional thinking, to embrace this announcement of love with enthusiasm and, more to the point, to soon fall in love with the person who has made this announcement. Some people may be delighted by this sudden declaration, but they might still query, how might this be so? There is some logic fighting to be heard. However, they don't ask the person, they don't wish to be impolite, empathic trait of decency, or they don't wish to run the risk of losing this new love. How this has come about. Instead, they consider how this might have come to be the case. And though they say to themselves, well, we have known each other since we were at school, or her parents and my parents have always been good friends and kept in touch, so there is a connection there. Or we work in the same office, okay, we don't speak very often, but he's still able to see me across the floor at the department every day. Or we have been members of the same club for years, so it kind of makes sense. What is happening is your emotional thinking is creating flawed logic. It's making you think that you're finding an answer, and you're not. The victim is convinced because there is some plausibility about what we're saying, and the emotional thinking links this plausibility with circumstances through flawed logic. Accordingly, if you and the narcissist have known one another for a long time, have mutual connections, frequent the same places, it's entirely conceivable, isn't it, that this person could well have loved you from afar for years? The empathic trait of love devotee, this belief in love, the pleasure that your emotional thinking generates when you're told about this love, the romantic connotation which arises from the circumstances, and then the fact that there is something that rings true, all combines in the mind of the victim, and you fall for this plausibility, for this manipulation. Even in the rare instance that the victim just might question the bona fides of this declaration of love, we, the narcissists, are able to deal with it. How? By asserting a manipulation against you to get you under control and draw fuel from you by using plausibility. Take, for instance, the narcissist has expressed this declaration of love, and the victim says, using logic, "But we have barely spoken to one another all the time. How can you love me when that isn't the case?" And the narcissist instinctively or consciously responds with, "I don't need to speak to you to know that what I feel for you. I've seen the way that you are with people, kind, considerate, the way that you make people feel at ease, the way you make people laugh, how good you are at your job. Those are all the qualities that made me fall in love with you, and more besides." More compliments, more flattery, and as you are continuing to interact with the narcissist, your emotional thinking is being fed. It's also likely that the narcissist will have observed his or her victim, spoken to the victim's friends or colleagues, and trawled their social media profile to select additional information which, when combined, adds to the veracity, adds to the plausibility of the likelihood of someone being in love with the victim. The victim might say, "But I hardly know you. All we do is share the same apartment building." The narcissist responds, "Maybe, but I see you go past every day, and you may not have noticed me, but I have noticed you." Sounds plausible. The victim says, "Yes," you say. "Well, why didn't you say anything sooner?" The narcissist rather replies, "Because I wanted to be sure of what I felt. I didn't want to rush it, and I always believe that if something is right, it will come to happen." Plausibility. We, as narcissists, rely on the suggestion that something is true, the fact that it is plausible, the desire of the victim to believe in love, to want romance, to have something wonderful which alleviates the pain of past miseries, and combined together makes the magical not just possible, but probable. If you have someone paying attention to you, someone who professes to love you, then most empathic individuals want to believe in that, and don't want to run the risk of it being derailed by interrogating the person as to what they really mean. If you start cross-examining that individual, not only do you feel that you're being rude, impolite, transgressing boundaries, but you also fear that you might cause the person to run away, and invariably you don't want that to happen. And of course, your addiction to the narcissist certainly doesn't want that to happen. The consequence of this is that your empathic traits are hijacked, and some of your narcissistic ones, for instance, pride, and your emotional thinking convinces the victim that he or she is listening to something which is genuine, because it has something of the truth about it, that there is a plausibility. Or, if the victim does ask questions, then this just provides us with a further opportunity to add further words that have something of the truth about them. Once you realise that this is a manipulation that our kind deploy, you will spot it happening with alarming frequency. Or you will look back and realise just how often it was used to con and dupe you, to cause you to think that what we said and did was genuine, all through the suggestion that something has the ring of truth about it. I'm sorry I said what I did. I have been under a lot of pressure. Plausibility, he has been working hard as of late. He told me that, and so have his colleagues. I don't want to make any mistakes this time. Please, give me a chance to make you happy. Plausibility, she did say that she'd messed up her previous relationships. I guess she must have learned from that. I have finally worked out what I need and what I have to give. It has taken me some time, but finally with you, I know it will be right. Plausibility, he has told me about the other relationships which didn't work. I will repay you when I receive my bonus. Plausibility, he showed me his contract confirming that he was due a bonus a few weeks ago. I won't hurt you. I've been hurt and I couldn't do that to anybody else. Plausibility, his family told me that he's been hurt before. It is a last-minute business trip. These things happen. It's only a few days. I'll be back before you know it. Plausibility, she has mentioned business trips in the past, and it is a demanding place where she works. I'm sorry you couldn't reach me. Sometimes I just need some space to work things out. You know how I can go inside myself at times. Plausibility, Yes, I have noticed that at times he is quiet. No, she is just a friend. You've nothing to worry about. Plausibility? He has mentioned her as a friend from school previously. Whether it is seducing you, making you do something for us, explaining away your concerns, deflecting blame, refusing to do something, or 100 other manipulations, all intrinsically designed to assert control over you and gather fuel, we have this instinctive ability to cause you to accept what we say through plausibility, to accept what we do, to believe us, or to no longer doubt us, because of this capacity to utilize plausibility and add something that rings true. It's only after the event and reduced emotional thinking and the application of my work that you come to understand and realize that there wasn't any truth, at least not your truth. The inference, insinuation, or hint was predicated on lies. How is it, then, that what are lies are somehow given that ring of truth? The answer to that question is that there is also one other essential ingredient which enables us to deploy this manipulation of plausibility successfully. What we say, no matter how plausible, how convincing, how persuasive, how truthful it may sound, needs one other thing to make it work. It needs something else in the equation to turn our lie into an apparent and sustainable truth. Something which is especially receptive to this tactic. Something that is open to its application. Something that has emotional thinking, that allows the manipulation of plausibility to be so effective. You.